Welcome once again. It is I, the Nomad, coming to you live from the wastelands of the internet to bring you news of the day, news of the week, news that, well, I want to listen to, right? The news that I am interested in. Maybe nobody else is. Maybe it's not. But I'm gonna. Well, first of all, I'm gonna start off with some house cleaning kind of things that drive me crazy during the week. Right, I'll probably reiterate them a little bit more uh, as we go through some things here. And what I mean by house cleaning is just things that have come to mind that in various different areas that I don't normally talk about. For one, the the it has been announced that the Pittsburgh Steelers have re-signed uh, J.J. Watt, okay, or T.J. Watt, excuse me. This is a great thing for the Pittsburgh Steelers because I'm a Pittsburgh Steelers fan. All right. I do think that there is a problem though in entertainment for the NFL in that right now they're at the cusp of turning into the NBA. No man, what do you mean by that? The problem is there's too much money in sports. And I mean this in a manner because this money is to the detriment of the sport. What do I mean? Okay, what are you talking about? Well, if the players are getting too much money because they don't care about the sport, the quality goes down drastically. This is the problem that the NBA has. They don't want to face it. The players, they don't give a shit about the game. They just give a shit about getting their money and they just go on and do whatever the hell they want. They couldn't care less how they perform, all right, or whether or not somebody is watching them perform. Well, you're getting that way with the NFL. These players are getting too much damn money. And it just goes to show you just how much money there is in entertainment, but that also goes to just how fat we are as a society. That the money that we're putting in entertainment is just overriding everything because we have no real problems to speak of. Colbert got canceled. We'll be talking about Colbert a little bit later. Um, it's look, I'm a Steelers fan. Been a Steelers fan. All right, for a long time, decades and decades and decades, through some really tough times. I can tell you right now, through some really tough times we've had. But I do recognize when players are being paid too much because I saw it in the NBA. In the NBA now, nobody cares about the All Star game. Well, that's true of the NFL now too, folks. Think about that. Anyway, let's get to the news, shall we? Let's start off like we normally do. All right, here is a live map showing the Ukrainian and what's going on in the Ukraine. And as you can see, one of the things to note, I think, here is the amount of attacks that the Ukrainians are launching against the Russians. The Russians, however, are pushing huge areas here. It looks like they're making a concentrated push here, but they're also making a concentrated push down here. And this kind of surprises me. All right, it's almost as if they're going to try and take Kherson a little bit more forcibly now. Now this could just be a sidelight measure overall. All right, where the real push you can see is in these two areas here, and then a little bit up in here in this area here as well. Um, I suspect that this is the last quarter. These people here, it's going to take a while before they admit that these people are trapped. If this is accurate, all right, these people that are here fighting for the Ukrainians are trapped. Okay, so let's get to the next story on this here, shall we? Sip of death. Putin soldiers killed in mass poisoning laced bottles of water in suspected Ukrainian sabotage operation. Why are you calling it a Ukrainian sabotage operation? All right, I got a question here. Vladimir Putin's men were reportedly killed by poisoned water bottles in a suspected Ukraine sabotage operation. At least 4 soldiers were said to have died in excruciating pain after drinking bottles labeled "Our Water," allegedly supplied to the front line in a humanitarian consignment. All right. Several others are said to be in critical condition in a major blow to Mad Vlad's invasion of the Ukraine. The deadly incident, which unfolded in I'm not even going to try to butcher this area, all right, of Donetsk, all right, has sparked horror and fury among pro-Kremlin military channels. Distressing footage seen by the Sun shows poisoned troops convulsing, moaning in agony, and slipping into unconsciousness as medics scramble to help. Okay. So, who are the reporters here for this? Let's go to the top of the page for the Sun. All right, from Juliana Cruz Lima, all right, and William Stewart. Well, William and Juliana, you have no problem with war crimes? Considered war crimes? You have no problem with it? It's okay to commit war crimes? Is that what we're saying here? It's okay? It's okay to commit war crimes, I guess. If you're Ukrainians, war crimes are perfectly acceptable. Doesn't this sound familiar? Where are all the people decrying this? Where is this great? Where's Amnesty International? Where are they to sit up here and decry this? Why aren't there the New York Times posting to decry, all right, from Amnesty International about how horrible these kind of war crimes are? Where are they? Where are they? Don't you understand? No matter fighting for their lives. Okay, so there are no war crimes. No. Putin committed war crimes. He invaded the war crime. Do we have a Geneva Convention? Do we? Look, you can not like Putin. You can hate Putin. You can think that do everything you want. In my opinion, as far as complaining about how murderous Putin is, and Vlad is going after everybody. You can complain about it all you want, but I want some consistency. If you're gonna bitch, and I have no problem with you bitching about this. If you're gonna bitch, however, all right, about the war crimes being committed by the Russians, and they have committed war crimes. Do not misunderstand me. They have gone in and taken over areas and raped women and so forth. Those things did happen and are happening to a degree. I'm not denying any of that. And I'm not ignoring it either. But I can tell you right now that if you're going to decry that, then you have to be consistent and decry this. You can't be celebrating it. There's one thing to sit up there and say, well, I deny that this happened or I denied that happened. And Putin has done a lot of that. Oh, I didn't do that. We didn't do this. All right, that's just made up stuff. He's done a lot of denial, which is bullshit. Okay? But it's another thing for the same people to come back and go, okay, we're going to celebrate this. We're going to support this. We're going to add troops to it. There's a huge difference. And Juliana and Will, you better have a come to Jesus moment at some point and realize what you're doing. Because you're not decrying this, you're celebrating it. And we all see it. From Zinhao News, Israeli strike kills Hezbollah militant in South Lebanon. The Israeli Defense Force said it killed a militant in Hezbollah's elite Radwan forces in southern Lebanon on Saturday using a military aircraft. The IDF stated that the militant was involved in efforts to reestablish Hezbollah's militant infrastructure in the town of Al-Qaim. All right, Qiyam or Qiyam. I'm not trying to butcher it. I just can't pronounce things. All right, located in southern Lebanon. It claimed that his activities constitute a violation of the understanding between Israel and Lebanon. Meanwhile, the Public Health Emergency Operations Center of the Lebanese Health Ministry. Don't you love this? We worry about 3-letter agencies. To them, if it doesn't have 15-letter agencies, it's worthless. All right. Stated that an Israeli drone strike on a house in the town of Al-Qiyam or Qiyam or whatever resulted in 1 death. A Lebanese security source told Zinhao that the person killed was identified as Mohammed Abdullah Al-Hadi, a member of Hezbollah. Since 2024 in November, a ceasefire agreement brokered by the United States and France has been in effect between Hezbollah and Israel, right? Putting an end to clashes that have erupted in the wake of the war in the Gaza Strip. Despite the agreement, Israel army occasionally carries out strikes in Lebanon, claiming that they are meant to eliminate threats posed by Hezbollah. Sounds like they got their man, doesn't it? As opposed to these kinds of stories. 32 Palestinians shot dead trying to reach U.S. groups' food distribution sites, Gaza authorities say. Deir al-Balah, all right, Gaza Strip. Israeli troops opened fire Saturday towards a crowd of Palestinians seeking food from a distribution hubs run by a U.S. and Israeli-backed group in southern Gaza, killing 32 people, according to witnesses and hospital officials. Sorry, that's garbage. I'm sorry. Why should I believe anything, all right, from hospital officials, all right, who hide Hamas and allow Hamas to operate at headquarters out of their hospitals? That's a neutral witness? Sami Magda and Wafa Shurafa? The shootings occurred near hubs operated by the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which launched operations in May. The United States and Israel seek to replace the traditional UN-led aid distribution system in Gaza, asserting that Hamas militants siphon off, no, they just outright steal, all right, the supplies. The UN denies the allegation. Of course not, because they're trying to sit up there and fund Hamas. And the people firing on these guys are Hamas. Oh, it's Israelis. The Israelis were doing it. How do I know it was Israeli? How do I know it wasn't the Hamas people trying to prevent people from going to the American facilities for food and so forth? How does anybody know that? So these two people here, knowing that this is a probable thing, it's not just it could happen. It's flippin' probable. And I'm not saying the Israelis are good guys. All right, if you want to know what the Israelis are like, all right, faith leaders condemn Israeli strike on Gaza's only Catholic church. Israeli shelling killed 3, wounded 10 at Gaza's Holy Family Catholic Church. Fallout continues to grow after Israeli tank shells struck the Holy Family Catholic Church in Gaza on Thursday, drawing strong condemnation from international faith leaders. The shell killed 3 people, wounding 10, and damaging the building. Hundreds of Palestinians have been using the church compound for shelter and aid during the now 21-month-old war between Israel and Hamas. The site was providing refuge for both Christians and Muslims, including children with disabilities. Right, top Christian leaders in Jerusalem visited the site on Friday to show solidarity after the strike. Cardinal Pier Bestia Pizzaballa, right, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, and Theodosius III, the Greek Orthodox Patriarch of Jerusalem, led a delegation to the compound, helping to evacuate injured individuals for treatment outside of Gaza and announcing plans to provide food and medical aid to those in need. Leaders have expressed their shared pastoral solitude of the churches of the Holy Land and their concerns for the community of Gaza. All right, according to a press release from the Latin Patriarch of I'm not trying to. I'm just going to say Patriarchate. All right, of Jerusalem. Pope Leo the 14th spoke to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu by phone and reiterated the urgent need to protect places of worship, especially the faithful and all peoples of Palestine and Israel. Pizza ball, that's the name. But I didn't make up the name. All right, well, with all due respect, the Muslims, they don't look at their mosques as holy places. Now, what happened here is you had some tank rounds, according to this article, fired, which killed people in this church. Right? These churches they act as a sanctuary. Okay? It's quote unquote under investigation. Here's your first question. Here's the first question I have. With all due respect. All right. Was this intentional? Now, Israel claims that it was stray ammunition hit, that they were firing at other things, and the rounds just continued over there and hit the church. Very possible. All right, in a war situation, it's very possible that they were trying to destroy something, and that this came as a result. Okay. Whether or not that's true, or whether or not they were intending to kill people that were being hidden there, who knows? Pizza balla translates to pizza dance. Look, I didn't make up the guy's name. All right, I didn't make up the name. If the Palestinians want to protect themselves, though, and they're kind of worried about this kind of stuff, start putting churches everywhere throughout the Gaza Strip. Start putting up Catholic churches. Bring in some Methodists. Bring in some Baptists. See what happens. All right. See what happens. But the idea that somehow churches, which churches are holy sites, I'm not going to deny that. There are temples that are holy sites and so forth. But that's not the Muslim view of them. And people better realize that Hamas doesn't view it that way. If you think that this is so horrible, then why are you supporting Hamas? Oh, we're not supporting Hamas. We're not supporting Hamas. Oh, really? Let's take a look at this. Met Police arrest 55 protesters for supporting banned Palestinian action, all right, including charity workers, teachers, and a retired dentist, taking the total to 127. Metropolitan Police have arrested 55 protesters for supporting the newly banned terrorist organization Palestinian Action. These people, all right, destroyed British military equipment, including planes, in an effort to quote unquote support the Palestinian cause. All right? They are a terrorist organization. Those taken away by the police included charity workers, dentists, teachers, and the total, bringing the total arrested by the Met to 127 over the last 3 weeks. Demonstrators took to the streets in cities across the UK, including London, Manchester, and Cardiff, as part of the Palestinian Coalition and Palestinian Action, holding signs that read, "I oppose genocide. I support Palestine Action." Well, you can't truly oppose genocide and support Palestine Action. I'm sorry. Those people should have been arrested in mass. Well, for 5 years, mass. No, I'm talking the thousands that were there. They should have just gone in there, surrounded them, and said, okay, you're going out to jail. Every frickin' one of them. And if they have a government job, like a teacher or a dentist, which is a government job in Britain, for the most part, then they need to be told that they no longer have a place of business. They no longer have a place to work. Those held were of mixed stages, from their 20s to their 60s, and many said they had jobs and had been arrested before. Gee, arrested before, huh? Members of Palestinian Action who were arrested said, I will keep, this will keep happening. I'm a teacher. I don't care anymore. The government is complicit in genocide. And this person should be held up, shown out there, and to have somebody in their face going, you support murdering of children. Why? You support the absolute targeting of children, and why? And make her explain it. Make her explain the difference. Force this supposed teacher to sit up there and review what a genocide actually is. In front of everybody. And then say, why is this person even a teacher? And then go through, who are the people she hangs out with? Because they're all suspects too. I would sit up there and go through and find out which teachers agree with her and find out which ones were giving her support and go through and clean the house. Because you know that this radical, all right, has been sending emails to her friends and colleagues, and the ones that agree, and there's a whole lot of boll weevils that agree with her and need to be gotten rid of. You do not want these people teaching your children, and that's the problem. Hey, Oz. You do not want these people teaching your children. We have this problem, the same problem here in the United States. You have these big, huge teachers' unions that don't give a rat's ass about teaching kids anything. They're there to indoctrinate left-wing violence in the country and support it. And that's their primary goal. Teachers' unions should be banned. Public sector unions should be banned. All of them. From the Financial Times. Netherlands rations electricity to ease power grid stresses. Country provides early warning for the rest of the EU if investments in new cables do not keep pace with shift to greener economy. Oh my God. So the green economy is failing. Thousands of businesses and households are waiting to connect to the Dutch grid forcing network operators to ration power in an early indicator of what other European countries are likely to suffer as the speed of electrification increases. More than 11,900 businesses are awaiting for electricity network connections, according to Netbeheer Nederland, the Association of Dutch Grid Operators, a union. What a surprise. On top of that are public buildings such as hospitals and fire stations, as well as thousands of new homes. Dutch officials and companies said lengthy waits for connections are holding up economic growth and could force businesses to rethink their investment plans. Despite efforts to invest in new cables and substations, new connections in some areas of the country will only become available in the mid 2030s. Yay, green energy! Hooray! No, they're going to start cutting these people off. The Netherlands. Let me take a quick gander here. Because I really don't think that they're that big. All right, they're 33.5 kilometers or 12,900 square miles. Do, do, do. All right, they're an area. They're an area just slightly larger landmass wise than Massachusetts. Okay, landmass wise, they're the size, just a little over the size of Massachusetts. And yet these people can't get their grids or power through to areas, all right, until 2030. 5 years away. Possibly longer because it says mid 2030s. So 10 years away. Can't get power for 10 years in a nation the size of a flippin' a large letter carrier from the United States. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. This area, the Netherlands could be the electricity for the Netherlands could be fully supplied by a single nuclear power plant, in my opinion. There's no reason a single nuclear power plant couldn't take care of their entire grid of the Netherlands. But see, all this environmental Nazi crap is there to get people used to the fact that only the rich deserve electricity. The rest of you guys are peons. In the story that never goes away, Epstein lawyer reveals truth about client list as House Republicans block files release. The fallout from the Department of Justice's decision not to release the Jeffrey Epstein files continue today, with more Hollywood stars and MAGA defectors urging the Trump administration to release the documents. The DOJ, led by Pam Bondi, said last week that it concluded that Epstein did not possess a clients list. Notice the parsing. Okay, this is what happens when you listen to people. Notice the parsing of the words. Her comment is not, well, technically a lie. All right. The DOJ, led by Pam Bondi, said last week it concluded that Epstein did not possess a client list. Okay. Pam. Okay. Press. Okay. Daily Mail. That's where this the people who put this out. Germania Rodriguez Pilio. All right. Polio and John Mitchell Rash. You guys are the reporters. Did you listen to the statement, and did you follow up and ask a legitimate question? Which is, okay, Epstein may not have created a client list. Did somebody in the Justice Department create a client list? You have a list of the clients, right? I mean, you guys have tapes and everything showing these clients. Did somebody use those tapes to make up a list? And who was it? And where is that list? And you're wrong, Matt, and I'm going to explain you why. They will never release anything about Epstein. It's not about Epstein. I'm going to cover that in a little bit. Do you notice how they parse things? And you notice how the press, they want to attack Trump. They want to attack Van Bondi, but they don't really want to get to the bottom of this, do they? Because they don't ask the relevant question. Well, then, did anybody create a list, and why not? Why or why not? Where is that list? There's got to be a victims list somewhere. Ghislaine went to jail for it. Now, Ghislaine's lawyers went to the Supreme Court and got shot down, right? Because they want to overturn her sex conviction, all right? But you hear this all the time. For example, this story from the Daily Beast, all right? Hollywood demands investigation into CBS. All right, whoops, this is the wrong one. This is the wrong story. That one comes later. But these stories, all right, about Trump, all right, and the issues involved in this, right? They all avoid asking relevant questions, all right? They do hit pieces like this. Trump says he doesn't draw pictures, but many of his sketches sold at auction. All right, you can see that these were sold at auction, and of course they were sold for $100, and now they go for thousands of dollars and tens of thousands of dollars. All right. But one of the things that I want you to notice here, okay, is you see him the supposed sketches that he did. All right, like this one. All of this is in one type of pen color, and then he signs it in a completely different pen color. All right. Now I don't know if these mean anything or not. All right. We do know that Jeffrey Epstein and Trump, all right, did hang around in the same circles. All right. We also know that at some point Trump said, "I want nothing to do with you," and he banned Jeffrey Epstein from Mar-a-Lago. Now this is all before he ever ran for president. Hey TC, if you care to join me, please feel free. Anybody who cares to join me in the in Discord, feel free. But the problem with this, and Matt, here's where you're wrong. Okay. You're saying that they're all on it. That's not the issue. That's not the issue. Believe me, there are plenty of people that are probably on this list that don't want these lists coming out. I agree with you. All right, but that's not the problem. That's not why this is being hidden. There are plenty of people who would have been outed with axes to grind to get rid of scum, all right, that for their own personal beliefs, because they're scum too, all right, that would sit up there and push these issues out. That isn't the issue. Their names would have been put out already. The problem with this is that this was not Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell getting their freak on and then getting caught. Okay? This was not Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine, all right, being rich party goers, having parties on Lolita Island, and then certain people found out about it and then blackmailed them. And they were like responding with, haha, we're taking tapes and we're going to sit up there and blackmail you back. No. This was a group of individuals within, and I am convinced of this, that this is a group, there was a group of CIA individuals that said, let's create this situation. Let's build a program so that we can create a honeypot program to compromise people to be intel assets for the United States. And it's the Mossad is not the ones who created this. This was done by the CIA. Now, there may have been information, and they may have worked with Mossad to target certain individuals, especially in the Middle East. Okay? It would not surprise me, all right, that they were working with the Mossad in the sense of getting targets to then try to compromise, specifically within the Middle East, within the royal families of the various Middle East, little sultanates that are running around there. But this was a CIA program to pimp out American girls, all right, for the purpose of getting intel assets. And these programs and these assets still exist and are providing intelligence to the United States throughout the regions of the world. It isn't just the Middle East, although the Middle East is a part of it, I'm sure. All right? Like I said, I have no doubt. I'm telling you that this was not just them getting their freak on. This was a program deliberately set up, and Jeffrey Epstein became a part of that. They recruited him to do this. The CIA had every intention of doing this. They recruited him to do this, which explains how he got all his freaking money to begin with. You take a look at Jeffrey Epstein's career, and one of the things that stands out is the fact that where the hell did he get all his money? You'd be asking questions. Where the hell did this guy get all this money from? Well, there's the problem. The problem with releasing anything on this is as you start to pull on one of these threads, specifically if you sit up there and here's another question that the press isn't asking. Well, are there any of the quote unquote girls that were participating in this that are willing to talk to the press now that they're of age to explain who they were sleeping with? Or little boys, if that's the case, all right, who are now young men or men. This was 20 years ago, folks. They're no longer 13, 14, 15 years old. They're in their 30s now. The vast majority of these people are probably in their 30s or 40s even. Think about this now. Oh, there's definitely we're not. We'll get to the parties' involvement shit in a minute. But this is not to protect them. This is to protect the fact that the CIA ran this program. That's what this is. Because if you start pulling on the threads of this, you can uncover the fact of what the CIA was doing, and then you compromise all these assets that they're currently exploiting in these various areas around the world. That's what they're hiding. That's what they're attempting to keep hidden. Have you noticed Tulsi Gabbard hasn't said a flippin' word about any of this? You know, the director of national intelligence? Now, Trump has just ordered, by the way, Pam Bondi to release the entire transcripts of the grand jury testimony, all right, on Epstein and Ghislaine. Once again, though, that's not releasing the records. That should tell you something, folks. Now, as far as who's caught up in this, the biggest problem that they have from that standpoint is this: a lot of these people knew when they found out about what Jeffrey Epstein was doing, were amazed he was getting away with it, and then thought, well, hell, he can get away with it, so can I. And so they were getting their freak on with the assurance that, well, we're doing the same thing that Jeffrey Epstein's doing, not for the same purposes, but they're doing the same thing that Jeffrey Epstein's doing. So nobody cares. The FBI knew all about this for a long period of time. We're being told you don't touch this for a long period of time. So it's the same thing. I'm with Jeffrey Epstein. You can't touch me in FBI because I was doing this. And yes, there are a lot of people when this operation was going on realizing, hey, I can take advantage of this and get my freak on. I can go out there and deal with my depravity and be as depraved as I want to be because, well, look, nobody cares. And it led to an expansion of this, which is why Epstein got caught in the first place in this, got caught up in it in the first place. Because they were they were basically going out there getting their freak on everywhere, which exposes the operation. But the problem is the people who set up this operation to begin with within the CIA, and that's who they're really trying to protect. They're trying to protect the CIA's dirty tricks divisions. They couldn't give a rat's ass about this politician or that politician in the sense that they don't care if they get burned to the stake alive. As long as the program is protected, as long as the assets that were compromised and being utilized still remain unknown. Because in these regions, all right, especially in the Middle East, if you find out that someone was a U.S. asset, you're dead. She just, by the way, Tulsi Gabbard just turned over a lot of stuff over to the DOJ on the Russia collusion thing, and she basically called him the Obama traitor, Obama himself a traitor. Just keep things, above board here. Meanwhile, around the country, what annoys freaking Trump more than anything is while we're busy bitching about Epstein and constantly saying, "Hey," and do not misunderstand me, I want these files all released. I am one of the people saying release this. Okay, I have no problems burning the CIA to the ground. I would have no problem whatsoever burning the CIA to the ground. Just so you understand this, just so people understand where I'm coming from. Burn the CIA. Burn these people because they are running rogue over everything. This is what happens, folks. When you take an agency like the CIA and start removing restraints on them. It's bad enough. They act bad enough when they have restraints. But during the Patriot Act, when they removed all the restraints from the CIA, oh my God, they're freaking out of control. And they're not a bunch of Stan Smiths, all right, from the cartoon show Family Guy. They're his daughter. That's who runs the CIA. A bunch of closed-minded, self-righteous leftists. Anyway, what Trump wants eyes on are is this. Japan eyes tariff talks in the U.S. next week before the August 1st deadline. Japan's top tariff negotiator, Rosai Akazawa, said Saturday he intends to visit the United States possibly early next week for an 8th round of trade talks before a 25% tariff on Japan comes into effect on August 1st. I want to continue working to find common ground that both sides can agree on, Akazawa told reporters at the World Exposition in Osaka, where he was accompanying U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, his counterpart in the talks. Now, if Scott Bessent, I want people to understand, if Scott Bessent was in the Obama administration, it wouldn't be U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. It would be gay U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent. Just so people understand that. So Japan, what they're trying to do is they're trying to keep talking in good faith overall, but they're trying to make the best deal for Japan. This is from Kyoto News, by the way. And as long as you're willing to discuss terms with the United States, you won't have a problem. Tell the fast track next season of Solo Leveling and we'll drop the tariffs. But the tariffs, the problem with the tariffs is there's certain countries that cannot sit up there and negotiate in good faith because they are in dire straits. And Japan is in a critical position right now. They have a lot going on. They got a lot of things, but at least Japan is starting to step up. They are more of an ally to the United States than damn near anybody in Europe. And definitely more of an ally than the Canadians are. And the Canadian people are now being told by their government, well, you're just going to have to deal with the U.S. tariffs. Why? Because they don't dare capitulate. It won't make a difference. Canada's going to collapse, folks. Well, okay. So Japan has increased letting in migrants. Okay, they went from 5 to 10. Okay. Japan is not opening up the borders like the United States or Europe did. Okay, they're letting in some, but they're still very limited. Okay, so that's how it starts. Well, maybe all right. But Japan has always kind of waffled back and forth along that. It's not a threat to Japan right now. Japan, however, is at a crossroads as well because they have to change. Okay, they're going to have to sit up there and change how they do business. Okay, but at the same time, they're also increasing their funding in other areas. So we can work with Japan. We can't work with Canada. The Canadians have this attitude. The Canadians as a whole have had this dismissive attitude toward America for a long time. It's decades and decades coming. How much smarter, how much better, how much more humanitarian they are than the United States. How much better than they are because of their leftist mentality. We're superior to the United States. The United States should listen to Canada when it comes to foreign policy. And if people think that I'm joking at this I'm quoting, all right, their news networks with they were saying crap like that. Canada, which probably doesn't even have a full squadron of modern fighters. Telling us how useful they are as an ally to NATO, all right, when they can't even field, all right, a fighter wing. So the Canadians, and then they, oh, we give a lot, trade's going to hurt America. Trade from Canada is going to hurt America. No, it's not. We don't need you. You're going to find that out. There's nothing Canada has that we need, that we can't sit up there and in the United States utilize on our own. From the smoking gun. Police, speeding reckless motorcyclist is no king of the world. A motorcyclist was busted yesterday for speeding and reckless driving after a Florida cop spotted him riding hands-free with his arms outstretched like he was Jack on the Titanic, according to the arrest affidavit. Police allege that Damien Henkins, 34, was doing 105 when he mimicked Leonardo DiCaprio's "I'm King of the World" pose as he sped Sunday morning, all right, on U.S. Route 19, driving in a 55 mile per hour zone with other traffic present. Henkins had both hands off the handlebars when Corporal Jacob Rollerston of the Pinellas Park Police Department observed him traveling at an excessive and dangerous speed. Seen at the right, Hendricks was arrested on 2 misdemeanor charges and booked into the county jail. The St. Petersburg resident spent about 6 hours in custody before being freed on $300 bond. Henkins drives a Kawasaki Ninja ZX6R and has posted Instagram photos of him weaving and white lining through highway traffic. Late May, he uploaded a photo, of his motorcycle, which can approach 175 miles an hour, with the caption, "Finally gave her a bath and installed a new windscreen. I love this bike." Henkins had previously been cited for driving an unregistered vehicle and driving a vehicle with an expired registration. Dude, if this guy was doing 105 miles an hour, all right, and did the Leonardo DiCaprio pose without a windscreen on a motorcycle, color me impressed. All right, I'm just going to say it. Taking that kind of wind pressure in your chest and it doesn't blow you off the motorcycle? No, I've driven at excessive speeds, and I've stuck my hand out the window only to have it freaking rammed right against the side of the windshield, or the window brace, rather, all right, in the door. That's how strong that wind pressure is at that point. To stay on a motorcycle at 105 miles an hour, Leonardo DiCaprio style, and not wrecking, not being pulled off that motorcycle, not being pulled, the motorcycle being pulled up and over you. Dude, gotta give the guy props. You're an idiot. Gotta give the guy props. Hollywood demands investigation into CBS over late show cancellation amid bribery concerns. This is what you were talking about before about good old Colbert. The Writers Guild of America is calling foul on the shocking cancellation of one of CBS's most beloved programs, The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. It's one of CBS's most beloved programs. Oh no! To reiterate, Mr. Barkley there. In a move that has raised more than a few eyebrows, Colbert's long-running show was pulled without warning just days after the host ripped into the network's parent company, Paramount, for paying what he described as big fat bribe to the Trump administration in a legal settlement. The Writers Guild of America has significant concerns that the Late Show's calculation is a bribe sacrificing free speech to curry the favor of the Trump administration. What was your audience size? Meanwhile, Jimmy Kimmel slams CBS for axing Stephen Colbert's show. ABC's Jimmy Kimmel slammed CBS on Thursday for ending The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. Love you, Stephen. F you and all your Sheldons, CBS. All right, Kimmel, the host of Jimmy Kimmel Live, wrote on Thursday Post. Dude, you just lost one of your main competitors, whose now those ratings could attempt to go to you, hopefully, if you were any good. But this creates a problem. That's a rival network you're supposed to be competing against, dude. This kind of smacks of, I don't know, collusion? Is that what this is? Is this collusion? Can we say it together, late boys and girls? Collusion? That you were not actually acting as an independent group. You were all working together against what you say is a political enemy? No, I don't care. I'll be honest with you. Because, Jimmy, you're next. But it's not going to happen because they acquiesced to Trump. And spitting at your boss gets most people fired. Talking shit about your boss gets you fired, especially when you do it in a public setting in front of a bunch of people. So I have no sympathy for Stephen Colbert. He's someone who doesn't know when to keep his mouth shut. He thought he was bigger, okay, than his bosses. He thought he could insult his bosses and then they couldn't do anything with him because he's an entitled entertainer who thinks I'm untouchable. I've got the American people behind me. You don't, dude. Nobody gives a shit about you, which is why your ratings were sucking so bad. And you weren't increasing your ratings, they were constantly going down. And Jimmy, you're in the same boat. You're going too. The programming change comes after Colbert, a vocal critic of President Trump, slammed the network for giving the president a big fat bribe via a $16 million settlement over Vice President Kamala Harris's interview in 60 Minutes during the 2024 campaign. Really? To me, it seems like they did this in coordination with Colbert. I'll be honest with you, to try and boost up wherever he's going to go. But they were going to get rid of him a long time ago. And as far as going after him, they could sue. CBS could, or Paramount could definitely sue him because he stood up there and said it's a bribe. He called it a bribe. Dude, you called people you don't know, or people that you work for, you said that they were bribing the president. They were committing a criminal activity. All the late night guys stopped being funny when all the jokes were about Trump. They weren't all that funny to begin with. It was all right. Let's talk about Jimmy Kimmel for a moment. Jimmy Kimmel, Jon Stewart, all these guys, they weren't really not that funny. They were the Beavis and Butthead crowd. They took the same kind of, they weren't as crude per se, but the same kind of logic train was being utilized. This is one of the reasons why I can't stand assholes like Jon Stewart. Jon Stewart was never all that funny. Oh, he could give you looks and he could, and at times it was a funny gag, but overall I didn't find their work all that flippin' amusing. Now, granted, I'm not their target demographics. Their target demographic were the young, the youthful, the impressionable, the hey, we're going to stick it to the man crowd, right? I'm different. See me. I'm one of you guys too because I talk like you do. I see things the same way you do. Blah blah blah. Right? In reality, though, they're pushing a Marxist left-wing agenda and had been for a long time. Jon Stewart could kiss my ass. Jon Stewart is one of the most hate-filled bigots there is on the planet. And I'm dead serious. He cares more about Bessie the cow than he cared about the victims of 9/11. Don't don't let him kid you. He's a leftist. He's a Marxist. He doesn't give a shit about people. From military.com. Drill sergeant under investigation after having soldiers do push-ups under a MAGA flag. The Army has launched an investigation after a drill sergeant posted a video showing soldiers being hazed beneath a MAGA flag, which runs afoul with multiple military regulations prohibiting partisan political activity in uniform and on federal property. Staff Sergeant Thomas Mitchell on Friday uploaded a video to TikTok showing a group of trainees performing push-ups and burpees in full body armor under a banner that read, "This is Ultra MAGA Country." The video was later deleted, but shortly after, Mitchell posted a second video showing the same exercising in the same location, this time with the flag removed. The caption, "Cry about it." All right, dude, you're an idiot. Okay? You're an idiot. Mitchell serves as an infantry drill sergeant with B Company, 219th Infantry Battalion, 198th Infantry Training Brigade at Fort Benning, Georgia. Displaying political flags and other partisan memorabilia inside federal buildings is strictly prohibited under the Defense Department regulations designed to preserve the military's role as a nonpartisan institution, a norm long considered sacrosanct within the ranks. Okay, yes and no. Okay? All right. you have to understand things. Okay, there's a difference between military buildings, all right, federal buildings, and while they are technically federal buildings, so are barracks, and you've got to give people leeway within their own barracks. I'm not agreeing that this guy did anything, that this guy shouldn't be charged. This guy screwed up big time. Don't get me wrong. Do not get me wrong. This guy should not have had anything that had anything to do with with politics. The problem is, why is the term MAGA political? Make America great again. How is that pointing to one party or the other? How is it political? It's political because the media made it that way. In fact, the media went out of its way to try and use it as a derogatory thing. Because one party wants America to be great, the other wants it to be destroyed. That's very true, all right? But it's not because of the party per se, it's because of the elites. There are too many, all right, that have let the left politicize everything. Everything is political because the media made it that way. Showing the OK symbol used to be just showing the OK symbol. All of a sudden, the media blew up an incident where somebody sat there and told them once on Reddit that it meant white power. Oh, it's white power. It's white power. It's political. It wasn't political until you made it so. Just people sitting up there doing an OK to one another. They made everything political. And it's sad. You want soldiers to be proud of America. You want them to defend America. You want them to be willing to go out there and do the tough things that most civilians can't do. Why wouldn't Make America Great Again be something that they would be trying to sit up there and promote? Oh, but it's all politics. It's sad. It is political though now. I can't deny that it isn't, that it's not political, because it is political. In another useless organization that needs to be permanently eliminated, the EPA eliminates Research and Development Office and begins layoffs. Better late than never, I guess. The Environmental Protection Agency said Friday it's eliminating its research and development arm and reducing agency staff by thousands of employees. Can't come soon enough. The agency's Office of Research and Development has long provided the scientific underpinnings for the EPA's mission to protect the environment and human health. But they've also, all right, been engaging in politics more than they've been doing quote unquote scientific underpinnings. You mean like, okay, well, we got to have this fuel additive because it's going to reduce pollution? Is that the kind of thing where it's been proven that the science behind it was false? Is this the group that lied about we still have a different fuel additive for gasoline in the winter months versus the summer months? Because of the EPA that's still going on today, because of this group of people of scientific expertise, huh? The agency said Friday it's creating a new Office of Applied Science Environmental Solutions that will allow it to focus on research and science more than ever before. Once fully implemented, the changes will save the EPA nearly $750 million. The EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin said in a statement that the changes announced Friday would ensure that the agency is better equipped than ever to deliver on our core mission of protecting human health and the environment while powering the great American comeback. You need to get rid of this entire department. This group of scientists that they're talking about claimed that fracking, okay, was letting gas into people's houses, okay, and that they were lighting their water on fire. They could sit up there and light the water coming out of the thing on fire, only to find out that these people had intentionally, all right, pumped in gas. This scientific group here, all right, were actually pumping gas into the water line, all right, so they could take this picture that they then went and said, this is an example of what you're seeing, all right, at a trial. Falsifying evidence for trials is what these people have engaged in. And yet, oh no, 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 we need to protect them, AP. We need to protect them, Matthew Daly. Oh no. No, it's a good start. So what's the UN doing? Well, the UN, well, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres has appointed an independent scientific panel of experts to study the physical effects and societal consequences of nuclear war. The establishment of this 21-member panel is a response to the global environment in which the risk of nuclear war is higher than at any point since the depths of the Cold War. Farhan Haq, deputy spokesman for the UN chief, said at a daily briefing. Panelists are leaders in their field across a range of scientific disciplines and come from all regions of the world. The panel will hold its first meeting in September this year and will submit a final report to the UN General Assembly in 2027. Send this guy to jail for wasting money. Send him to jail. Send him to jail. Nothing is going to come out of this panel that's going to be worth anything. Not in an academic sense, not in a real sense. Yet you're going to spend money. Oh, we're gonna research, what will happen to societies if there's a nuclear war. Is there a nuclear war anywhere that you can point to that you can sit up there and say, use as examples, or is it just going to be shit you just fart out of your ass? Is this free paychecks toward these panel members? All right, free gifts of grants of my money, U.S. money, going to bullshit like this. Turkey repatriates looted statue of Roman emperor from the U.S. I don't think it repatriates looted statue. I think it received a repatriated looted statue. It didn't repatriate itself anything. All right, Turkey has successfully repatriated, been been given a statue of Roman emperor and philosopher Marcus Aurelius 65 years after it was smuggled out of the country. the Culture and Tourism Minister Mehmet Nuri Ezroy said on Saturday. It was a long struggle, a concrete result of our year-long effort pursuit of justice, says Ezroy on X, calling it a historic achievement made possible through the combined efforts of diplomacy, law, and science. He added the ancient statue will soon be unveiled to the public in Ankara in a special exhibition. The statue, originally looted from the ancient city of Boybon in the southwestern Turkey during the 1960s, had been on display in the United States for decades. The recovery was carried out in close cooperation with the New York Manhattan District Attorney's Office and the United States Department of Homeland Security, the minister said. The return is part of Turkey's broader effort to reclaim its cultural heritage. Ezroy said that 8,967 historical artifacts had been repatriated in the past 7 years. Why don't I think that this is that this really means anything? Maybe it's because I don't trust the Turks. Not under Erdogan, I don't. From the smoking gun. After calling police last night to complain that a woman refused to leave his home, a Louisiana man, unsure if the alleged trespasser was still inside, asked officers to search the property and clear his residence. Cops agreed to sweep the West Monroe home of Marcus Gilroy, 60, in search of the woman he knew as Aretha. But instead of locating Aretha, investigators found 3 child-sized sex dolls in Gilroy's bedroom, according to a probable cause affidavit. The dolls were found lying on and near the bed. Upon finding the dolls, police obtained a warrant to search Gilroy's home. During the execution of the search warrant, an anatomically correct sex doll of an infant and 2 anatomically correct dolls which resembled children under the age of 13 were discovered. During the police questioning, Gilroy reportedly admitted that he's the ownership of all 3 dolls, which he purchased online, and stated that he had sex with each of the dolls multiple times. Oh my God. Just take this guy out and shoot him. He was arrested for possessing and trafficking and importing a child sex doll, a felony. He was also charged with possession of marijuana and drug paraphernalia. His rap sheet includes theft, battery, forgery, and narcotics possession. Despite the criminal history, Gilroy did not hesitate to invite police into his home to look around. This guy's deranged. Okay, he does not need to be let out in society. From Friday, Pam Bondi. Pam Bondi has fired several more employees from Jack Smith's team. The Attorney General Pam Bondi on Friday fired several more Justice Department employees who worked for the special counsel Jack Smith to investigate President Donald Trump's retention of classified records and efforts to overturn the 2020 election, according to 5 people familiar with the matter. About 20 lawyers, support staff, and U.S. Marshals who worked on Smith's probe were terminated, according to one of the sources. At least 2 of the people fired were prosecutors who most recently worked in other U.S. attorneys' offices in Florida and North Carolina. 3 of the sources told Reuters. The Justice Department, since January, has been dismissing employees who worked on matters involving Trump or his supporters, citing Trump's executive powers under the U.S. Constitution. A spokesman for Smith did not immediately respond to a request for comment. My guess is they came up, found more bullshit from these people, and said goodbye. All right? That's what they're finding from these guys. These people need to be fired. Okay, just a few stories left here. Area 51 left with fatal diseases, or staff, left with fatal diseases after guarding a top secret project. U.S. Air Force veterans have revealed that many workers at Area 51 base were killed by cancer. Security guards at the Nevada Test and Training Range, NTTR, known as the secretive Area 51, were handed a death sentence by the government due to the presence of an invisible killer on site, they have said. NTTR was built in the 1970s on land found to be contaminated with radiation due to years of nuclear testing. However, veterans who survived the ordeal have not been offered medical care by the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs, as they have not been able to prove they were exposed to radiation. That's because the problem isn't the radiation. Okay? Just going to point this area out. A former Air Force Sergeant David Crete, who worked at NTTR between 1983 and 1987, said the left side of his brain was dying due to atrophy, Mail Online reported. He told the House Veteran Affairs Committee that he was one of the luckier ones, as 490 of his coworkers have died of severe illnesses since serving at the former nuclear site. Sergeant Crete said that an airman lost his life at 33 after serving in the unit, and that his fellow servicemen have lived to an average age of 65. Okay? Despite concerns over NTTR's radiation risk, a government report insisted that stopping projects being carried out there would be against the national interest. However, veterans have been left without evidence to prove of their exposure. Okay? Dude, the problem isn't exposure to radiation in and of itself. Not saying that that's a good thing. Okay? You got to understand this. But Area 51 burned a lot of bad stuff. Let's leave it at that. Okay? Burned a lot of bad stuff, which was inhaled by a lot of these guys. Okay? And yes, they deserve compensation. Yes, they deserve to be taken care of. I'll be the first person to say that. And it is bullshit that the Veteran Affairs Administration is acting the way that they are. They're not inaccurate to say that there's no proof that it was the radiation that caused this. My guess is that they went in there and started taking a look at several of these people and actually did toxicology reports in several areas of their body. They would find heavy metal poisoning. Because there was a lot of crap going on at that time. That's not to say that it's just I'm not trying to protect the government when I say that I don't know if it's the radiation that they were worried about. I think it has less to do with the radiation than several of the other things. Like I said, heavy metal poisoning, which could include plutonium, by the way. Just All right, plutonium is a more dangerous heavy metal than as a heavy metal contaminant than it is as a radioactive contaminant. Really. Okay. Golf tournament cancels opening day due to a bear on the golf course. The opening day of a tournament in Japan was called off when a bear was spotted on the course. The second such incident within 2 months. The bear was first spotted near the first tee. He just wandered around himself. They should have let the bear go. On the first tee of the Sendai Classic Golf Club on Wednesday, causing the Pro-Am competition scheduled for that day to be canceled. Mijay Yasada Ladies Tournament, the JLPGA Tour event, had been scheduled to begin on Thursday but was canceled as a result of the Bears' presence. The tournament had originally been scheduled to last 4 days. On Wednesday, a bear sighting on the course was reported, and the Pro-Am tournament was canceled to protect the safety of participants, players, and staff. All right, organizers wrote on the tournament website, to ensure safety and to consider future measures, we have decided to cancel Thursday's opening day. We will announce details of the tournament from Friday onward as soon as they have been decided. Okay, organizers later decided that the Mijay Yasada Ladies Tournament would go ahead as planned Friday, but without spectators. Now, they just had recently had a bear attack. Where's the story of the pot farmers last week? Yeah, that's still good. Where does he get his clubs? You can probably get ask one of the other people to borrow one of theirs. I'm sure they have extras at these pro-am things. Just showing it. Okay. Now the final story of the day. Final story. Final story. Woman flooded with calls about non-existent cat due to a T-shirt. A British Columbia woman's phone has been flooded with calls about a missing cat that doesn't exist, and it's all because of a T-shirt. Natasha Loewy and Jonathan McCurrick, said dozens of calls have come in from people claiming that they found their cat Torbo, but their cat's name is Mauser, and isn't missing. Sometimes six times a day, I'm getting these really random calls, and people are leaving me voicemails saying that they found my cat and want money for my cat. Lavoie told CBC News. Right? I'm like, my cat's at home in the air conditioning. The couple discovered Lavoie's phone number had been printed on a T-shirt sold by a company in Wisdom, New York. The T-shirt featured a missing cat poster and Lavoie's phone number. Wisdom, New York representative said the shirt has been pulled from the online store. The use of a real number within the art created was not intentional, the representative said in an email to CBC News. Lavoie said she does not want to change her phone number because it bears a 604 area code, which is difficult to get. Who cares? What? Jesus. With all due respect, lady, what does that matter? No, I've had the same number for 20 years. I don't want to change it. That's okay. That's good. But who cares if it bears a 604 area code? She said she would like a real apology from the company. I feel I deserve a T-shirt after this. I think we both do. I can't argue with them. They should send her a T-shirt. I will admit that. All right. But this woman is in British Columbia receiving phone calls from people in New York because of a missing T-shirt on the thing. With all due respect, who prints this stuff? All right. That's like, Jenny, I got your number, 8675209. All right. Which is now, by the way, a banned phone number. 8675309. All right. Which is from that's the song Jenny. I don't remember who sang it or who popularized it. But yeah. Does she deserve an apology and a T-shirt? Yeah. She does. All right. And the artist who sit up there and put that out there should be slapped around a bit, right? But which leads to the next question. I know, James, people are strange. Yeah, I would agree because I wouldn't be wearing a T-shirt with a missing cat on it. Okay, I'm not sure I would be doing that. I think people are strange. Oh, but that's everything that I got for the day, folks. I hope that you all enjoyed the show. Um, I am probably going to, seeing as I have, I'm thinking about starting a, doing a kind of this kind of a podcast kind of thing a bit more often. All right, just to start on different types of things during the day, because quite frankly, I have a bit of free time on my hands at the moment. All right, considering that I got laid off, but also just to see if I can do some things that are different. All right, although it won't be tomorrow or the next day or within a week or two. All right, it'll be somewhere down the road. All right, is what I'm thinking about because I got a lot of prep work that I'm actually trying to get involved with it. If I decide to go in that direction, right? It hasn't been fully vetted out yet. But anyway, I hope that you all had a good day. I will be doing this show regularly on Saturdays, just like I've always been. So don't worry about that. Hope you all have a good day. Talk to you all later. Bye, bye.